Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and thank you once again for joining us on this fascinating journey into the hidden world of modern-day treasures, overlooked change, and incredible stories behind the coins we often take for granted. And today we're zeroing in on a coin that might not immediately catch your eye but has captured the attention of collectors and numismatists across the country and beyond, the 2002 D1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln Memorial penny, minted at the Denver Mint, which in certain rare and valuable cases has sold for up to $2.20 or more, not because it's ancient or made of precious metal but because of the very imperfections, anomalies, and minting errors that make it stand out from its countless counterparts. And while at first glance a penny worth $2.20 might seem unimpressive compared to some of the astronomical values we've seen in other coins, what makes this particular coin so intriguing is the sheer accessibility of it, the fact that you might find one just by checking your pocket change, and that it represents a 220-fold increase in value from its face amount due entirely to errors, mistakes, or unusual features that went unnoticed during production but became valuable once discovered by sharp-eyed collectors who understood their significance and rarity. And in the case of the 2002 D penny, there are multiple layers to this story that make it worth a closer look, starting with the fact that this coin was part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series, which ran from 1959 to 2008 and featured Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo. And by 2002 the US Mint had already transitioned from solid copper coins to copper-plated zinc planchets, which were more cost-efficient but also more prone to certain types of errors and issues, especially involving the delicate balance between the zinc core and copper outer plating. And these issues would become crucial in determining which coins from this year stood out from the rest. And from this mass production environment emerged a series of coins that, through error, accident, or mishap, became collector's items, with one of the most frequently encountered and notable errors being the die crack, a defect that occurs when the die used to strike the coin develops a fracture due to wear or overuse, leading to raised lines or jagged marks on the coin surface, where metal flows into the cracked portions of the die during striking. And these die cracks can appear in numerous places on the 2002 D penny, from Lincoln's face and coat on the obverse to the columns or roofline of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and their value is largely determined by location, size, and visibility, with long or dramatic cracks fetching more interest and thus higher prices. And sometimes these cracks can even form what collectors call cuds, which are large blobs or areas of missing design caused by a piece of the die breaking off entirely, leaving a space that fills with metal during striking and creates a major visual anomaly. And these cuds are highly sought after because they are much rarer than simple die cracks and tend to be more dramatic in appearance. And alongside these issues we have die chips, another form of die degradation that results in small extra blobs of metal appearing on the coin surface, often in places like Lincoln's eye, beard, or the spaces between the columns of the memorial. And when these chips are large or form recognizable shapes, collectors often give them nicknames and assign them added collectible value. And moving on, we encounter off-center strikes, another highly desirable error type that occurs when the coin blank, or planchette, is not properly aligned within the press at the moment of striking, causing the design to be off-centered and sometimes leading to part of the coin being blank or missing part of the intended imagery. And the degree of off-center striking can range from minor to extreme, and coins that are significantly off-center yet still show the date and mint mark are far more valuable and sought after than those where crucial details are missing. And then there are double die errors, which are among the most exciting and well-known errors in coin collecting, caused when the die itself is improperly manufactured and features design elements that are duplicated slightly out of alignment, leading to visible doubling on the coin, often on the date, lettering, or design features. And while 2002 D is not widely known for major double die varieties, there are still reports and examples of minor doubling, particularly in the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date itself. And when this doubling is strong and clear, it can raise the value of the coin substantially, especially if it is also in uncirculated condition or possesses other errors. And we must also talk about the construction of the coin itself, since the 2002 D penny, like all post-1982 cents, is composed of a zinc core with a thin layer of copper plating, and this composition is particularly vulnerable to issues such as plating blisters, where trapped gases or poor adhesion between the copper and zinc layers cause bubbles or raised areas to appear on the surface of the coin, sometimes dramatically altering the appearance or giving the coin a lumpy or distorted texture. And these plating Issues, while technically flaws, are exactly the types of things that collectors seek out because they make a coin unique, and if they occur in an interesting location or pattern, they can fetch even higher prices, especially in uncirculated specimens. And speaking of condition, it cannot be overstated how much the overall preservation of the coin affects its value, with coins that are graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC being worth significantly more than their circulated counterparts, particularly when errors are involved, and even more so when the coin is designated as red in color, indicating that it has retained at least 95% of its original red copper luster, as opposed to being classified as red-brown or brown, and collectors will always pay more for a bright, pristine, error coin than they will for one that is dull or heavily worn, even if the error itself is the same. And in addition to die-related errors and plating issues, there are also strike-through errors, which occur when a foreign substance such as grease, thread, or metal shavings become lodged between the die and the planchette at the time of striking, causing part of the design to appear weak or missing, and these strike-throughs can vary widely in appearance and value, with the most dramatic and easily visible examples being the most desirable, and some 2002 D pennies have been found with dramatic strike-throughs that obscure parts of Lincoln's face or the details of the memorial, leading to a surreal or ghost-like appearance that collectors find highly attractive. And furthermore, we must consider the possibility of transitional or planchette errors, such as coins struck on the wrong type of blank intended for a foreign denomination or another coin series, which, while rare, do happen and are known to exist from various years and mints, and a 2002 D penny struck on a dime planchette or foreign planchette would be significantly smaller, lighter, or different in coloration, and if authenticated by a grading service, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on rarity and visual appeal, and it's this unpredictability and possibility that fuels the excitement among collectors and drives the value of even seemingly common coins like the 2002 D penny to unexpected heights. And the reason why this coin is considered valuable at $2.20 is not just one single error but rather the combination of possibilities, the availability of multiple error types in the same coin, and the potential to find such coins still in circulation or in old collections, where they have remained unnoticed for decades, and the emergence of online marketplaces, YouTube videos, and coin roll hunting communities has only increased awareness and demand for these kinds of coins, creating a network of collectors who trade, discuss, and value these anomalies in ways that continually shape and reshape the modern market. And when you factor in the appeal of collecting a full set of Lincoln Memorial cents, or building an error-type set that includes one from every era or mint, the 2002 D penny takes on even more importance, and if your coin happens to have a large die crack, visible doubling, plating bubble, and is in brilliant uncirculated condition with strong eye appeal, you could easily find collectors willing to pay not just $2.20 but potentially more depending on market timing and buyer interest, and the appeal of these coins is not just monetary but also educational and historical, as they represent physical evidence of the minting process and the ways in which even the most sophisticated systems can produce unique and collectible results due to the unpredictable nature of mechanical wear, human oversight, and the limitations of materials. And this makes every error coin a small window into the inner workings of the US Mint and a tangible reminder that even machines make mistakes, and that sometimes those mistakes are worth big money. And the beauty of the 2002 D penny is that it's still relatively young, widely circulated, and accessible, meaning there are still plenty of them out there in drawers, jars, and rolls waiting to be discovered. And so the next time you come across a 2002 D penny, take a closer look, because if it has any of the error features we've discussed, whether it's a die crack, off-center strike, double die, plating blister, strike through, or some combination, you may be looking at a coin that's not only unique but also significantly. Next 2003 D1 cent USA coin. Today's deep dive brings you a surprising and fascinating story about a seemingly ordinary coin that has stunned collectors and sparked massive intrigue in the world of coin collecting. The 2003 D1 cent coin, which despite its humble face value of just 1 cent, has seen a skyrocketing price tag of up to $22 on the secondary market, all due to a series of rare, intriguing, and sometimes even mysterious errors and mistakes that make this modern penny not just a coin, but a collectible gem with real numismatic value worth understanding, studying, and maybe even searching for in your pocket change. So if you're ready to explore every crack, clash, die error, strike through, doubling, off-centering, and mysterious imperfection that makes this 2003 AD penny so desirable, then sit tight and stay focused, because we're diving headfirst into a deep, long exploration of why one small coin can hold such big money value when the right errors are present. And as always, we welcome both long-time subscribers and new viewers with the same excitement and passion for coins that make these stories come alive, because whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just found a curious-looking penny in your coin jar, the 2003 AD Lincoln cent might be your ticket to a very surprising profit if you know what to look for and how to evaluate its unique traits. So let's start by taking a look at what makes any coin, especially a 1-cent piece from the modern era, collectible in the first place. It's not just about age or rarity, although those factors certainly help, but more often it comes down to a specific set of mint errors and anomalies that occurred during the production process, and when those minting flaws are scarce enough, well preserved, and verifiable by experts or grading authorities, their market value can increase exponentially from just a few cents to several dollars or even more, depending on the specific type of error and the interest from collectors. And this is exactly the case with the 2003 AD penny, minted in Denver in a year that was otherwise uneventful in terms of major design overhauls or mint announcements. Yet within the countless coins struck at the Denver Mint that year were a small handful of pieces that left the presses bearing undeniable signs of production flaws, anomalies, and inconsistencies that drew the eyes of sharp collectors who know how to spot something unique. And over time, through auction sites, coin shops, collector forums, and private sales, the 2003 AD penny began to emerge as a sleeper hit among error coin enthusiasts, with various known mistakes and striking oddities fetching between $5 and $22 or even more depending on condition, rarity, and market timing. So what exactly are the types of errors found on this coin that make it valuable enough to exceed its face value by over 2,000%? Let's break it down, starting with one of the most commonly identified issues, die cracks and die breaks, which are raised lines or chunks of metal that appear on the surface of the coin due to breaks in the die itself during the striking process. And on the 2003 AD penny, several specimens have been discovered with distinct die cracks running through Lincoln's portrait, across the lettering, or even encroaching into the date. And such features create a visually striking and highly collectible variety, especially when these cracks form shapes or patterns that collectors nickname, like lightning bolt cracks or cud breaks, when a chunk of the die falls off entirely and leaves a missing area filled by a blob of unstruck metal. Errors like these are often dramatic and immediately visible, making them more desirable to the casual collector and easier to authenticate. Then there's the double die variety, which, while less common on the 2003 AD penny than on older issues, has still been documented in a few cases, where doubling of the letters Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself can be seen with even slight magnification. And though not always dramatic, any true double die from this year can raise the coin's value significantly, especially when verified by a reputable third-party grading service. Then we come to off-center strikes, where the planchette, the blank piece of metal onto which the design is stamped, was not properly aligned with the dies, resulting in a coin with part of the design missing and a blank crescent edge that collectors find incredibly desirable, especially when the coin is 10% to 40% off-center and still shows the date and mint mark, making it identifiable and classifiable. And such examples from 2003 AD can command well over $15, with particularly dramatic ones nearing or exceeding the $22 mark. Then there are strike-through errors, where foreign objects such as grease, fabric, wire, or debris end up between the die and the planchette during striking, leaving behind a strange imprint or even a ghostly void where part of the design should have been. And these errors are often one of a kind or extremely rare, increasing their value considerably when authenticated. And the 2003 AD penny has a few examples where strike-throughs caused partial loss of design elements on Lincoln's head or the memorial reverse, sometimes making Lincoln appear deformed or partially erased, which adds a layer of intrigue and collectability that goes far beyond the face value. And then we have coins struck on the wrong planchette, perhaps the most valuable kind of error, though exceedingly rare. But if a 2003 AD penny was struck on a planchette intended for a foreign coin, or for a dime or nickel instead of a cent, its weight and color would be different, its edge might appear thinner or misaligned, and its composition would likely trigger metal testers. These are extremely collectible and have been documented in other years and mints, so it's entirely possible that somewhere out there, a 2003 AD wrong planchette exists and is just waiting to be found and authenticated. but even short of that, the more common errors already make the coin attractive to collectors who focus on modern US-era coinage, especially in high grades. And speaking of grade, condition is a key multiplier in value, with mint state examples, MS60 to MS69, fetching far more than circulated ones, particularly when the error is bold and visually dramatic, and many of these coins have been professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC, and when encapsulated in their protective slabs with official designations, their value is boosted significantly, especially for coins with red luster, full details, and sharp strikes despite the presence of the error. And let's not forget that these errors don't exist in a vacuum. Each mistake tells a story about the minting process, about the fatigue of dies, the misalignment of machines, the human oversight, or the randomness of production quirks that occasionally slip past quality control and end up in circulation. And that human element of imperfection is exactly what collectors love to find and preserve, because every flawed coin is a glimpse into the mechanics of a massive production system where speed, precision, and volume are constantly at odds, and when one of those systems falters even slightly, it creates a collectible that is technically an accident but becomes something to treasure and trade. And with growing interest in modern mint errors thanks to social media and online marketplaces, more and more collectors are beginning to appreciate even the small value spikes that coins like the 2003 AD penny represent, because what used to be discarded or overlooked is now examined, appreciated, and sometimes even sold for many times its original value. And this means there's a real opportunity for viewers and collectors alike to inspect their change, to visit coin shows or estate sales, or to search through rolls from the bank looking for that next underappreciated penny that could be worth $10, $15, or $22 or more depending on its flaws and demand. And the best part is that many of these coins are hiding in plain sight, needing only a sharp eye, a magnifier, and a bit of patience to uncover a piece of treasure disguised as a simple piece of copper-plated zinc. So as we wrap up this exploration into the 2003 AD 1 cent coin and the unexpected journey it has taken from mere pocket change to error coin royalty, remember that each coin has a story, and that story might just be waiting in your wallet, your drawer, or that old jar of coins you've been meaning to sort through, because among the ordinary, there are always hidden gems, and the 2003 AD penny is one example of how a minor error in minting can become a major win in collecting. So keep hunting, keep learning, and keep watching our channel for more stories of small coins with big value. Last 1987 D1 cent USA coin. Today we have an extraordinary tale to tell about a 1987 D1 cent coin that recently captured the attention of seasoned numismatists and casual hobbyists alike, as this small copper-plated zinc coin minted at the Denver Mint, normally worth just a fraction of a dollar, has been discovered with rare and unexpected errors that have propelled its value to an astounding $650 on the collector's market, making it a remarkable example of how imperfections, oversights, and quirks in the minting process can turn ordinary currency into a treasure trove of history and value. So let's unpack everything about this coin, starting with its origin, its specifications, the errors that make it so desirable, and the broader significance that coins like this hold for collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts, beginning with the fact that in 1987, the US Mint was producing billions of 1 cent coins using the copper-plated zinc composition adopted in 1982 to reduce the cost of minting, with the Denver Mint contributing significantly to this effort, churning out over 4.2 billion pennies that year, meaning that the base 1987 D penny is incredibly common, with the vast majority of them still circulating or sitting in jars, drawers, and old piggy banks across the United States. Yet among this sea of coins, a small fraction stand out due to minting anomalies, planchette errors, and striking mistakes, and the 1987 D penny worth $650 is one such example, reportedly possessing a combination of rare and compelling errors that dramatically increase its appeal and market value, starting with a notable off-center strike, where the design of the coin was not aligned properly during the minting process, resulting in a coin where Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding legends are misaligned or partially missing, with collectors valuing these errors based on the degree of the misalignment, especially when more than 50% of the design is still visible, ensuring that the date and mint mark remain legible. And in this particular 1987 D specimen, the off-center strike is paired with a dramatic die break or cut on the reverse, a large raised area that forms when a piece of the die breaks away and allows unrestrained metal to flow into the gap, creating a bold and visually striking anomaly that adds depth and uniqueness to the coin. But that's not all, as this coin also shows signs of die deterioration doubling, especially on the date and Lettering on the obverse side, where the doubling is caused not by a true double die but by the wear and tear of the working die itself, resulting in a shadow-like duplication of details that some collectors still find very desirable when combined with other errors, and the story becomes even more fascinating when we add in a clipped planchette error. Yes, a small but visible portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a misfeed during the blanking process, leading to what appears to be a crescent-shaped bite taken out of the coin, and although clipped planchette errors alone might only add a few dollars in value, when found in conjunction with an off-center strike, die break, and doubling, they create an incredibly rare and compelling combination that dramatically elevates the coin's worth, particularly to error coin collectors who specialize in finding pieces that deviate from minting norms in extreme or dramatic ways. And this 1987 D penny reportedly sold at auction for around $650 because of this exact confluence of errors, with additional premium being placed on its sharp details, good overall condition, and strong eye appeal. But to understand why such a coin would command such a high price, we need to delve deeper into the nature of mint errors themselves, how they occur, and why collectors are so captivated by them. So let's begin with the minting process, where blank planchets are fed into high-speed presses where obverse and reverse dies strike them with immense force to create the final design, and in this process, any number of things can go wrong. Dies can crack, shift, wear out, or be improperly installed, planchets can be misfed, off metal, or improperly prepared, and machinery can malfunction in 100 subtle ways, all of which can produce errors that, while technically mistakes, often become the most collectible and valuable specimens. And because the mint has rigorous quality control procedures, most flawed coins are caught and destroyed before they enter circulation, which means that any errors that escape this scrutiny are inherently rare, and when multiple errors occur on a single coin and remain undetected until they reach collectors, their rarity and value increase exponentially, and that's exactly what seems to have happened with this 1987 D penny, which reportedly displays not one or two, but four distinct and significant minting errors: off-center strike, die break, cud, die deterioration doubling, and clipped planchette, all combining to create a one-of-a-kind piece that tells a fascinating story of mechanical failure, chance, and historical significance, as each error alone is collectible in its own right, but when they appear together on the same coin and in such a dramatic and visible fashion, they become something far more than the sum of their parts, a true rarity in the field of error coins. And these kinds of coins appeal not only to error specialists but also to mainstream collectors who recognize the uniqueness and scarcity such a combination represents, and while $650 might seem like a steep price to pay for a penny, in the context of the numismatic world, it's a perfectly logical valuation given the market dynamics at play, including scarcity, demand, condition, and the wow factor that such a coin brings to any collection. And we should also consider how coins like this can be undervalued or overlooked by casual collectors or members of the public who might have similar coins in their possession without realizing it, which is why educating people about the signs of valuable errors is so important, especially since most people are unaware that their pocket change might include valuable specimens worth hundreds of dollars, and this is particularly true for pennies from the 1980s and 1990s, a period during which the US Mint transitioned from copper to copper-plated zinc planchets and dealt with increased production demands that occasionally led to quality control issues, resulting in more opportunities for errors to slip through the cracks, and savvy collectors know to look closely at the details of common-date coins like the 1987 D penny for signs of misalignment, unusual edges, doubled elements, or raised areas that shouldn't be there, and with a simple magnifying glass and a little research, you might uncover a small fortune hiding in plain sight. Because even though the 1987 D penny was mass-produced and seems common, the presence of key errors, especially in combination, transforms it into a valuable and desirable asset for anyone interested in coin collecting or alternative investments, and that brings us to another important point, which is that coins like this can be both collectible and financially rewarding, offering not only the satisfaction of owning a rare historical item but also the potential for appreciation over time, as the number of known examples remains small while demand among collectors remains strong or even grows, and considering how coins with significant mint errors often outperform ordinary coins in value appreciation, it's easy to see why this 1987 D penny is considered a big money coin despite its humble face value, and we must also acknowledge that the world of numismatics is filled with passionate experts, amateur sleuths, and everyday hobbyists who thrive on discoveries like this, using online forums, auctions, and collector communities to share knowledge, authenticate findings, and assign fair market value based on established principles, and in the case of this $650 1987 AD penny, it's likely that the coin was verified and graded by a professional third-party service such as PCGS or NGC, with the errors officially attributed and noted on the coin certification label, which adds credibility and ensures buyer confidence during sales or auctions. And when these services authenticate the presence of multiple rare errors and assign a solid grade, the coin becomes even more desirable to collectors looking for certified error coins with clear provenance. So if you're curious whether you might have a valuable coin in your change jar or inherited collection, it's worth learning what to look for. Start by checking for off-center strikes by seeing if the design is uneven or cut off at the edge. Look for raised blobs or gaps in the design that might indicate a die break or cud. Examine the lettering and numbers for doubling or shadow effects that could signal die deterioration or even true double dies, and check the edges of the coin for any missing sections that might indicate a clipped planchet. And if you find a coin with even one of these errors, it might be worth getting evaluated by an expert. But if you find one with multiple errors, especially dramatic or well-formed ones, you could be holding something very special, just like the 1987 AD penny we've explored today, whose journey from the mint floor to a $650 valuation serves as a powerful reminder of how mistakes and imperfections can create hidden gems in the world of coins. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep collecting, because you never know what treasures are out there waiting to be discovered.